and thank you for joining us for Get the Gig, Job Searching Tips from Professionals, a virtual program of the Allen County Public Library. My name is Lisa, a librarian at the Allen County Public Library, and I will be the host for today's program. Our co-host is Christela, who is also a librarian at the Allen County Public Library. Just so you know, today's program is not being recorded. If you have a question or comment, please use the live chat function on YouTube. You do have to be logged in with a Google ID to post on the live chat. We will be facilitating the conversation as we go along. We will be hearing today from 3 local HR professionals today about resumes, interviewing, and the job hunt in general. First up will be Susan Ford, who is the Community Talent Relationship Manager at American Senior Communities. Next, we will hear from Becca, who is an HR generalist with Easter Seals ARC. And then we will hear from Lorraine, HR Director at the Allen County Public Library. We will also have a brief presentation about what the ACPL can offer job searchers and an overview from Joanne of WorkOne Northeast Indiana about services from WorkOne to assist people with the job search. We will get started with Susan Ford, who is the Community Talent Relationship Manager at American Senior Communities. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you so much for putting this on and inviting me to present here. I am so delighted to help job seekers who are looking for positions and opportunities for a career path. I do represent American Senior Communities, and we are a Hoosier company. We are in the Fort Wayne area with multiple facilities, multiple buildings. We hire individuals for the long-term care industry, everything from culinary staff to nursing to maintenance individuals to housekeeping and laundry. And so we are looking for good people who are excellent communicators. And what I mean by that, and here's a tip for you, it's very important that when you're interviewing and you're presenting yourself, that you present yourself honestly and clearly. This is important because who is the better expert of you than yourself? And you really have a license to talk about yourself, to talk about your, the opportunities that you've had, to talk about your experience, your skills, your contributions you've made as a team or as an individual. And so, talking about yourself and presenting it in a way that is friendly yet professional is very important. In our own communities, as we serve our residents, we are communicating with them. So think in terms of how would you communicate with an elderly person? You would talk clearly. You would probably use less slang, and you would be able to present who you are so that everyone understands you. So those are the kinds of things that I think are very, very important in your job search. Your tone and inflection are very important too. You want to present in a way where people are going to listen to you, that you're going to have some credibility and that you're believable. So it is very important that communication be one of the best ways that you present yourself and that you get across what you're looking for, what you can do, what you have done, and what you'd like to do. The hiring process with most companies these days offers the opportunity for a resume as well as sometimes a phone screen, sometimes an on-site interview. These are all very important aspects of the onboarding and hiring process because as you go through that process, remember that during each component of that process, you are presenting and interviewing, and you are trying to impress that other individual. So those are just a few examples of things that I think are really very, very important. And above all, honesty is the best policy. Be yourself, relax, and be honest.
Great. Thank you so much, Susan. I think we're ready for Becca from Easter Seals ARC.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate being here to be able to help job seekers and to represent Easter Seals ARC. So Easter Seals Arc is a nonprofit. We work with adults with intellectual disabilities, helping them with their day-to-day activities. We have locations all around Fort Wayne, Columbia City, and around the Angola area. We have some services like employment services where we help individuals with disabilities get jobs, and those range all around Northeast Indiana. So we have a pretty far reach as of right now, which is great. So one thing, a couple of different things that I look for whenever I'm interviewing somebody, I'm going to piggyback off of Susan. I look for honesty. So be honest about your employment history, gaps of employment, criminal history, anything like that that might come up. As Susan said, we do an application process and a phone screening. So usually if I'm asking you questions, there's a reason. So please don't lie about things. It's not that I'm trying to bar you from employment. I just need to know. Sometimes we hear the advice, everybody fudges resumes, but that's not really true. So please just be honest about yourself, your experience, and what you want to do. And I think it's also important to remember that you're interviewing me as well to make sure that we're a good fit for each other. So, and another thing that I think is really important in the age of COVID, where everything is online and there's a lot more things like phone interviews, is to be engaged and prepared online. So I've been doing phone interviews recently, and it's just they're not taken as seriously, it seems, as regular interviews. But unfortunately, I can't meet anybody in person. So I would really like to get an honest version of you on a phone interview. So, make sure that you're in a quiet area, that you can give this interview your full attention and you can ask me questions, because that's what we're there to do, is to get to know each other. So those are just some things that I look for. So being engaged and being honest.
Great, thank you so much, Becca. Let's next hear from Lorraine from the ACPL.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me. These have been really great tips so far, so I'm trying not to duplicate my responses. But as it was said, so you're interviewing the company, they're interviewing you. It's a mutual relationship, as is any employment opportunity. So looking for jobs that interest you is a win-win for the employer and for you. You're looking for something that is of interest, and a lot of times just journaling ahead of time helps you to figure out what that is. If you're lost or you're whatever age and still trying to figure out what you want to do when you grow up, it helps to write down the jobs or the duties that you gravitated towards that really get your fire going. And those are jobs that you're going to want to stay with for a long time. Personally, for me, I know cover letters are usually optional. I always recommend it. It's a really good way to help connect the dots for employers. If they see a gap in your resume, or maybe you're moving to a new city or a new state, and they're trying to figure out why you're applying if you're across the country, that can be a really good way to connect those dots to say, I've been really interested, I'm already looking at housing in that area, or I had a gap of employment when I was taking care of my kids and I'm ready to get back out into the workforce. I really think it helps connect those dots. But my biggest pet peeve with cover letters is making sure that it's specific to that employer. If I get a cover letter that's not for my job and it's not addressed to me, it's addressed to a different company, no matter how good your resume is, I'm going to question it because you didn't take the time to actually apply that letter to me. So just a tip there. I always, when I'm waiting for a call back for an interview, or if you've already been called back for an interview, do your research on the company. The more questions that you have going into it shows that you see yourself in that role and you see yourself as part of that company. And it always impresses me as an interviewer. But the biggest piece of advice that I always got, because I've never been good at interviewing, I'll be honest with you. It's uncomfortable and it's scary. So the biggest piece of advice that I've gotten was to have a story toolbox. So stories are really memorable. People remember them more than they'll remember this is the skills that I have or the education that I have. They'll remember that, oh, this was a time that I failed, but I really learned from it, or a time that I practiced my leadership when I wasn't in a leadership role. So having sort of those stories on hand, stories that show your strengths, stories that show your weaknesses, stories that show when you stepped up to the plate or went above and beyond, those are going to be memorable in the employer's minds when they leave that interview. And then practicing your interview, whether it's with a friend or a colleague or in a mirror to yourself, which I've done plenty of times. Practicing your interview helps you to become more fluid. If you have, let's say, a gap in your resume that you're uncomfortable talking about, the more you practice that, the better it's going to be. And you'll be more confident going into that interview. So there's a lot of good tips out there, but those are just some of the highlights that I hope are helpful to you.
Great. Thank you. If we could hear from Nancy, are we getting any questions coming in?
We are. So I'll come up and get started with questioning you guys. So people have some interest in some tips. So some of these are going to be, curveballs thrown at you. So we like that because you're always throwing curveballs at the job seeker, right? So we're going to throw them at you. You mentioned on the cover letter something that would make you set that applicant aside, like that didn't apply for that specific position. So is there anything in a resume that will make you put it in the, yes, I need to interview this person file, or anything that would make it stand out, or anything that would make you say, no, it's in the, I'm not going to call this person for an interview. And I'm sorry, I didn't take off my. So I'm going to address this to Lorraine first.
Yeah. I would say the biggest setback would be grammar. So just taking the time to make sure that your indents are lined up, that you've used the proper grammar. That's going to be a big key to me, because this is your first impression. First impressions start when you apply for a job, all the way through the interview process to when you're an employee. So I would say really targeting your resume, and you're not changing your resume, but you're targeting it to the position that you're trying to get. Same with your cover letter. If there's obvious grammar mistakes, or you've addressed it not to ACPL in this case, it's very obvious when you copied and pasted for every job the same resume or the same cover letter. So I would say that would be the trigger to put it aside. The ones that stand out to me, again, are ones that maybe focus on their skills, or they have a narrative at the top that sort of explains what they're looking for in the job. If it's just the skills, education, that's fine too. But that narrative piece, I think, really helps to connect why you're looking for that role.
And Susan, did you have anything to add to that, or?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I think one of my pet peeves is when I find a resume that lists skills or an attribute like detail oriented, and then I find, as Lorraine was saying, we find grammar errors and spelling errors, and I think, gee, I do put it aside. I really want people to walk their talk when they're describing themselves. So that would be one that I would put aside. Something that I do look for is if an individual has applied to one of our positions and they don't have the industry skills, because we are in healthcare, I still look for transferable skills. So that's really important. Customer service is one of those attributes, and it's a skill. It can really be a skill that can be utilized in so many areas. So if there could be some additional narrative about that, hey, I had direct contact with customers and I was helping them troubleshoot in a retail environment, or even in an environment, in a call center environment, any kind of personal interaction where someone has been able to work one-on-one with an individual, I think just speaks volumes and can be, transferred into other industries as well.
And Becca, did you have anything to add to that?
No, you know what? I think these two ladies covered that great.
Okay, great. When you were talking about having somebody say they're detail oriented and then they didn't have that in their actual resume, this is coming up later, so I'm kind of doing a teaser. We're going to have some people from WorkOne present, and that is something that they can help people with. If they're not, totally sure if they have everything right with their resume, that's something WorkOne can help with, and even some resources of the library can help with that. So I just want to tease what's coming up. So what do you feel are the most important skills and qualities to have in today's job market? And I'm going to throw this to Becca.
Great, thank you. So as I said before, I think computer skills are really important and becoming increasingly important as we go, obviously, like I am, more virtual. So our whole application process is online. So you have to even be able to have an email address and to figure out how to apply online. So that is, pretty critical for any of our roles. Also, all of our documentation is online. And I think in general, that's kind of how the world is becoming. It's just becoming increasingly online, and you need to be able to learn how to use Zoom or Microsoft Teams and things like that. As long as you have that ability to learn those, I think that's great. You don't have to come in knowing all that, but just being able to be open and to learn those skills.
All right, thank you, Becca. And Susan, did you have a follow-up on the most important skills to have?
I think, as I said, communication is extremely important. Honesty is extremely important. And if you lack skills, if you're applying for a position that you would really like to learn more about, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, I don't have the experience, but I'm willing to learn. And as it applies to what Becca was just sharing about our world becoming so technical, I think about our own healthcare environment. We no longer chart residents manually with their files. We have a computer system where it's known as point and click. And our nursing staff, for example, and our CNAs point to something and click it, and then the information is documented. In our kitchens, for example, we have lots of things. Whenever we're ordering supplies, that's all automated. So, and we know that we have a diverse workforce in terms of individuals that have been, exposed to computers and others that have not been exposed to computers. But if you're honest and say, hey, I'm willing to learn, we're really very fortunate to have someone who is like that and interested in, bettering themselves and learning more skills. It's only to your advantage to do that and to be honest about it.
Anything to follow up, Lorraine?
Yeah, I think flexibility and adaptability have been used a lot in the last 2 years, but because we've all sort of been pushed out of our limits. So even if you're not good at adapting to change or being flexible, I think that's not going to go away. And the fact that you can be honest about it and say, I've had some trouble with some of these changes, but I'm really trying, and I'm trying to think outside the box. And I think being vulnerable and honest about what your limitations are, but also that you're trying is key. So I don't think those two are going to go away anytime soon.
All right, so some other questions that are coming in. How, when I go on interviews, and I have a nervous temperament when I go on interviews, what's the best way to handle those nerves so that I'm not just giggling at everything they say because of my nervous belly? So do you have any tips on how to get through an interview and present yourself well?
I'll take that.
Okay.
First, because I told you I'm not good at interviews. I hate interviewing, but if you remember that the people who are interviewing you have also been in that position, it helps to kind of be on even playing ground. So I think, and I've done this before, where I just say, I'm really nervous about interviewing, but I'm really excited about this job. You've already sort of set the tone that you may have, a giggle or whatever. That's just nerves. I think they're going to be responsive to that. From human to human, we've all been in that role. We know that it's intimidating, and I think that sets the playing ground for you. So
I think that's sort of a positive situation to be in. If you do have a little bit of nervousness, that means this is important to you. It means that, you're really interested in this and you're engaged in it, even though you are nervous. But I think, again, as Lorraine had indicated, I think it's very important that you just be nervous. We are all nervous, at some point in time. But I think if you prepare, check the company out, go on their website. Many times you've already applied to their website, but I suggest that you go to their website and just keep clicking. Just keep clicking into areas just to learn more and as much about the company as you can and about the position. know who some of their competitors are, so that who are hiring maybe for the same position, so that you feel as confident as you possibly can when you're in the interview. And I always am impressed by individuals who actually bring a notepad and have questions already, listed that, they want to be sure that they cover before they leave, because they know, there's a lot of information that is discussed during the interview, and sometimes you don't always get your point across, or maybe there's something that's really important about yourself you want them to know. And so, just try to be prepared, take a deep breath, don't forget to breathe, and you'll be fine.
Well, that does tie into kind of our next, I think that's all the questions we have. And we were going to be talking about some of that research you can do into companies and how we can help with that at the library, and WorkOne as well can help with some of those practice interviews to help you get through some of that. Like what do you want to remember to communicate about yourself, and make sure you get that in when you have that opportunity. So before I wrap it up with you guys, though, I just want to make sure there's nobody who's like, I really wanted to share this tip today. So if anybody had something that they're like, I really, really wanted to share this. Anybody? Becca, did you have anything?
We do have a live question that
Oh,
says, with COVID changing everything, are there different tips for interviews on Zoom?
Tips for interviews on Zoom.
Oh, I have a little bit. So one thing I would definitely suggest is to get on earlier, because you never know what the technology is going to do that day. Sometimes it takes 2 minutes to sign into Zoom, and sometimes it takes 15 to 20 minutes for some reason. I know I've been pushing the clock at times. For some reason, it's just not loading the way it should be, or it's, my computer needed an update or something. So I would highly suggest downloading the program beforehand, even the day before or an hour before, just so you're prepared and you have the program on there and you can just click and show up.
Yeah, and I would say just be cognizant of your surroundings. Make sure you're in a place that's going to not have interruptions in it. Make sure you still dress professionally. I think you have to work a little bit harder to try to feel a connection during the interview. That can be really tough, but they're in the same boat. They can't connect with you as easily. So I think if you have questions written down and you're prepared ahead of time, I think that's key.
Yeah. Definitely limit the distractions behind you. Make sure that you're going to be able to have a private environment. And I know I do a lot of Zoom meetings, and I have animals. And at the most inopportune times, my dog is barking or my cat comes across my desk in front of the camera. And so I literally have to close all the doors and, kind of kick all the animals out. But I don't want distractions, because I want that conversation to really focus on the content. So yeah, great tips from Becca and Lorraine.
Hopefully that dog doesn't bark on the other side of the door. Is it Crystal on ACPL up next? Okay, so hold on just a moment while we get set for that.
For that Q&A. And come on up, Crystal.
Get my PowerPoint up. All right, thank you, Lisa. I'm just going to quickly go over some of the resources for job seekers that Allen County Public Library provides. Sorry, it's not advancing.
No.
And, I apologize. I can tell you about it. So we have quite a few computers. We have obviously 13 branches, and each branch provides computer access. So if you don't have a computer, say you have a problem with your computer that day, you can come to the library. You do not have to have a library card, although we would love you to get one. You can just ask for a guest pass. Also, most locations do have study rooms that do need to be reserved. It's a good idea to reserve them in advance. So say if you have like a Zoom interview and you need a quiet place, We have Wi-Fi, you can bring your laptop in. So yeah, that's a good way. You don't have resources, we can help you out with that. So we also have some guides. We have a pocket guide that you should be able to get at most locations. It's a pocket guide. It's like a blue little brochure. And we have ebooks. Of course, we have physical print books too, if you like that. We've got probably the biggest collection of job seeking material is probably here in the Business Science and Technology department at the main library.
So if
And-
I could just jump in, I don't think your slides are.
It's not.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, it's not working. I apologize. I should have made that clearer.
Okay.
I'm going to go over some online materials that you can access. If you do have a library card outside the library, you can access ebooks through Libby and Hoopla. We have apps for that. Feel free to call or come in. We can demonstrate that for you. It can be very handy. Hoopla has a lot of materials and they're always available. They have audiobooks as well, if that's helpful for you. I'll just quickly go through. I'm sorry, I don't have a visual. It's not working. So A to Z databases. We mentioned that you want to do your, if you want to do your research, if you're going on an interview, if you want to look at competition and things like that, A to Z databases can help you do that. You look up the business, it can show you the competitors and also other information about how their sales and things like that. In specific industries you can look at. We also have a link on our website to Inspire. And that is free to anybody in Indiana. You don't need a library card for that. They have a Learning Express and they have, which is one of the databases through there. And they have career testing, things like that. I recommend that. There's also a great resource called tutor.com where you can get one-on-one help with things like resume review or interviewing. I think a lot of people think that's just for like K through 12. It's for adults too. They do have job search information and they have one-on-one help. So, and that is only available from 12 to 10 every day. That's when they have live help. So, and then one other really great resource is Udemy. It's spelled U-D-E-M-Y, and it is on our website under U. And they have all kinds of self-paced classes that can help you with interviewing and resume writing, and as well just career helps, career skills like soft skills like managing and communication, and like hard skills like computer. They have Microsoft classes and they have more advanced things like that. So that's all I had. So I'm gonna shoot it over to Joanne with WorkOne. And let me see if I can get out of this. And that is our contact information for Allen County Public Library and WorkOne. So Joanne, if you're ready, I'll hand it off to you.
Thanks so much.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Christella. Thank you, Lisa. WorkOne offers a variety of services available to individuals who need assistance with finding employment. To connect to WorkOne, you would meet with an employment and training advisor, which we call an ETA. As you work with an ETA, you will need to provide some basic information to help us connect you to the next step in your career path. ETAs will walk you through the job searching process, help you to identify the skills that employers are asking of you, and to also help you to overcome any barriers. Also, WorkOne can include how to fill out job applications, either online or in person. For example, if positions need a resume is needed, the ETA can show tips on how we can help you with your resume and cover letter, which my colleague Lorraine had mentioned in her presentation. Your resume and cover letter can stand out and contain information that employers are looking for. This can also include identifying keywords and skills and accomplishments that will attract employers. And with skills, as Susan had mentioned, she had mentioned transferable skills, and WorkOne can assist you with that. Next, how are your computer skills? As Becca had mentioned, WorkOne can assist you with computer skills, and we offer a variety of workshops too. If interviewing assistance is needed, WorkOne staff are available for mock interviews to help you learn the best way to present yourself to a potential employer. Also, WorkOne offers referrals to companies that with our experienced business service reps, such as BSRs. Our BSRs are in contact with employers on a daily basis. And once you apply to a company, you can contact your ETA, who will then connect with the BSR and provide information about your strengths to the employer. So we will be your tool in helping you to get the next, kind of get your foot in the door. The BSR can also connect with the hiring manager, encourage them to invite you in to an interview as well. So what do you do after an interview? It's important that you know how to follow up with employers. And this is where WorkOne will be glad to help you. Again, WorkOne employers and training advisors will walk you through the process to continue making a good final impression. Now, once that, we also do follow-up services as well too. If you begin your new job, it's important, for example, is job retention. And nowadays, we're all concerned about good job retention. This is where WorkOne can help you with that for follow-up services. We can provide career coaching by helping you walk through situations that may arise at your new employer. As you go through the process with an ETA, we will assist you again with any barriers to help you overcome that, to help you become a stronger job candidate. If you need specialized training to land a position, WorkOne often has grants where we may offer financial assistance to obtain the specific skills you need. Again, WorkOne is here to assist wherever you are along the path to obtain employment. Our services are offered to you at no cost, and we can begin helping you as you need your assistance. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Joanne.
I think this concludes our presentation today. I want to thank all the presenters who were here and all of the attendees who were watching online. And I hope that helped you out with some tips for interviewing and your job hunt in general. If you're interested in any of our upcoming virtual programs for adults, children's, or teens at the library, please check our website at acpl.info. And if you want to have any follow-ups, if you need to call in or email in, there's contact information available there. And just keep an eye on our events tab. We may be doing some more events like this in the future. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good day.